Welcome to the Lost Traveler podcast. I'm your ever-loving host, Henry Cameron Allen, and today we pick up with part 2 of our special on unlocking human capital with the retired spy himself, Operative 431, J.J. Brun. Let's pick up where we left off.
I was listening to some past podcasts, and you had a gentleman from Canada who worked in Canada that specializes in trust, and
Yes.
and then I was listening to him. So you've claimed victory. You're not a victim. You know, you lost your son, Cameron, and then I connected why Henry Dash Cameron as you were talking. That's look, that's his son's name after his name. So the legacy continues. I'm like, I was like, I didn't connect the dots before. And then when you shared
It's
your
also a
story.
mathematical equation. It's Henry minus Cameron.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Because and
is...
it came about before there was a word that came in a dream, peregrine. A peregrine swooped down, the falcon, looked up at me and said, "It's time." And I woke up and I knew exactly what it meant.
And I'm so going to share your story.
It's thank you. It's an important story, I think, and it's universal. And when we talk about, I'm trying to change the lexicon around this experience of the passing of our children, because I'm swaying away from the word loss. I know exactly where he is. I didn't lose him like I lose a set of keys or my favorite scarf. I know exactly where he is. I don't feel like I've lost him in that sense, because he lives in me and through me now instead of outside my body. And I think that's a really important part of the grief journey, is the acceptance of the mystery that is death. That we are not, it's another universal life skill that we are not adequately taught to meet and to know how to elevate within ourselves. We are all going to grieve. And it doesn't have to be the grief over a loved one. It could be the grief over a job or a position or a house that burned or whatever, a pet. It could be anything, but we all experience it. So I say, let's go deep. Let's start to explore on the quantum level the dimensions of grief so that we know how to meet them, because they do equate. I really believe this.
You're in Spain right now?
I am.
I want to stay connected with you, as in I'm like, I'm like, we almost need to do a little retreat and gather all these people together and
you're saying all the right things. Absolutely. I keep inviting people. I have 3 guest rooms in this house. It's a 4-bedroom house. I'm renting for $200 a month. I mean, it's crazy cheap here.
What?
Yeah, no, I'm serious. It's so inexpensive to live here. And that's why we were
euros or
no, well, euros, but they're very close right now.
Okay.
And this is why I was in the UK, remember? And I was
it's more expensive.
Setting the home base for the Liminose project in the UK. This was pre-Brexit as well. So we knew Europe was where we wanted to launch it from. And the UK at that point felt like it made sense. But then I came here because of one of those weird coinkydinks that happens. And I ended up coming to visit my aunt, who lives here in a tiny village.
Okay.
My village has 700 people. Hers has 150, more akin to the one you grew up in, right? Tiny and remote. The closest city is about 40 miles away. And I came here and I got stuck during COVID. There's that COVID again, given all the gifts. And it just made sense that we reform our vision for home basing our touring company to be here in Spain versus the UK because of the cost. Housing.
COVID got me to do training online more, as in I already had an impact globally, because in 1999 I got certified as a human behavior consultant with personality insights in the States. Today I hold the highest status as an executive master trainer in the Four Temperament model of human behavior. Like, there's so many models out there, pick one, master it. And when you're talking about the arts in regards to how an actor has to project a certain persona, sometimes they have to be more direct in that persona, direct, demanding, decisive. But another persona has to be more inspiring, influencing, interactive. Another persona has to be more in a supportive manner, supportive, sweet, shy. And sometimes a persona has to be more cautious, calculating, conscientious. So your role will evolve in the four main personas, but then they blend together to discern 41 different style blends. So I specialize in that area because I train trainers. So I train and I certify them in the Four Temperament model of human behavior. The RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, I train their trainers. The Canada School of Public Service, so it's the highest institute for civil servants. So I train their trainers in for their management and supervisory leadership roles. CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, I train their trainers in their leadership program. So you will often find yourself at a disadvantage, whether it's in business or in your personal life, if you don't have a model of reference.
Right.
And actors have that. They actually do study in regards to understanding human dynamics, the personas, how to project more outgoing, how to project more reserve, how to project really task focus and cold and defiant, but how to project more illogical
Yeah.
and self-sacrificing demeanor, so that your audience will connect to a certain persona. A lot of the TV series out there will have the different personas because, oh, you like this one or you like this one.
Right.
I was born and raised with Gilligan's Island
Yeah, me
when
too.
it was black and white. And then, well, who know the skipper? Well, the skipper was more of that direct, demanding persona. Who was the S? Well, Gilligan was the S. You know, the supportive, steady, shy, and clumsy. But it's like everybody loves Gilligan.
Yeah.
Who's the inspiring? Well, that's the movie star. That was Ginger, and look at me. And recognition is the key for her.
Professor, the
But
intellect.
who's the intellect? Well, that's the professor, right? And he actually made a dentist chair one time that you had to pedal for the drill.
That's
And
right.
I'm like, you can make a dentist chair, but you can't build a raft to get out of off the island.
I was
But anyway,
in the same boat.
but the personas, and you see these as in Seinfeld had the four personas, Big Bang had them, Friends, and they tend to stand they what's it say?
Wizard of Oz, I mean, is a great example of that. I mean,
yes,
it's like the prime example, and that's a 100-year-old story plus. That's 123 years old. That story, a lot of people don't realize that it was originally written in 1900, right? So these are things that have been with us. I mean, way back to medieval times, the Four Temperaments, all of that. We learn these things as actors. This is why I encourage people to get in community theater productions, because this is what I was talking about. We are reflecting the human condition in truth.
I was sharing this with like COVID got me to do training at the university, Ottawa University. So I trained a program on influencing and leading others. Well, I converted it to a behavioral base because you would influence the same way. You need to discern one's preferred communication style. You need to decode their human capital. You need to know before you show,
right,
so that you can influence into a desired outcome. Some are looking for results, but others like, no, they're just looking for all the recognitions. Well, that's a different way of influencing. Others, they just sincerely want to build relationships, long-term relationships. But others, they just want to understand the reason why you do the things you do. So, and when you understand, you don't take things so personal, and you can have a conversation with people versus a pointing the finger discussion with people. And I'm like, if you ever put an event together, I'd be more than happy to provide an overview of the model, because I teach this now at the university, how to make sense of the people puzzle in times of change.
Yeah.
Because we all have our good days and we all have our bad days. Law enforcement, when they're called in, I do a lot of work with them. or the first responders. When they're called in when when people are having a bad day. 90% of the time when they're called in, it's not because people are having a good day. It's when people are having a bad day. They're out of control or ungrounded, and they have to bring them back under control in order to influence them to a safe outcome at the end. My gosh, I really like your talking about leaving your mark. Have you ever heard about the parable of the pencil, Henry?
Remind me.
The 5 things that you can learn about a pencil?
Go ahead.
I can see you, but they won't. So if they find, this is a simple instrument, right? It's a pencil. So the story goes that the manufacturer, the creator, the inventor of this pencil says to the pencil, before you leave, there's 5 things that you must learn and never forget. Number 1, in your life as a pencil, in order you can be usable, number 1 is that you first have to be willing to be placed into somebody else's hand. You cannot be usable in your life as a pencil if you're not willing to be placed into somebody else's hand.
Beautiful.
Number 2, you're going to go through some sharpening in your life as a pencil. It's going to hurt. But let me encourage you, you're going to be better because of the sharpening in your life as a pencil. Number 3, you're going to make mistakes as a pencil. I know. That's why I placed an eraser at the end.
Right.
Number 4, your true core value is found on the inside, not on the outside. It's not your shape. It's not your size. It's not your color. It's what I place inside of you that you'll find your true core value as a pencil. And number 5, and the most important one, never forget that you were designed, created, and invented for one thing and one thing only. And that's to leave your mark on every surface you come in contact with.
Mm.
So when you shared your from associations that you're seeding into, that you're leaving your mark, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's living the parable of the pencil. Because number 1, right, we have to be teachable.
Yes.
Like as a consultant, as a coach, if you're not teachable, I can't do anything. Are you teachable? Do you have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? Fixed, I can't work with that. But a growth mindset, I can work with that. Are you teachable? Number 2, guess what? We're going to go through some sharpening. Yeah, life provides us these character building moments, and it hurts. My gosh, I don't know how. I have never lost a son or a daughter. That's a life character building moments. But you're communicating not as a victim, but as a victor. And we can receive your teaching, your learning. So that sharpening, that like provides us that opportunity. We're going to make mistakes in our life. That's number 3. That's the eraser. We've got the right to start over with the information we have today. Right. Our past does not dictate our future. Our past does prepare us for our future, but it's not the end state. And it's that. And we've got the right to use that eraser. Our true core value, oh my gosh, you need to understand your strengths. Right. And that's by studying and finding a model that you understanding the human dynamics, understanding your strengths, but also understanding your blind spots. How do you protect yourself from yourself as you move forward? Right. But you're here for a reason. Number 5 is you're not here by accident. You're here to make a difference in people's lives. And to leave your mark on every surface you come in contact with. And it could be somebody, offering a smile at the teller at the grocery store or the gas station or at the postal office, right? Of just giving a little extra unexpected little gift of gratitude, of service, whatever, but leaving your mark. So as you were sharing, I'm like, my gosh, he's living it. Right? Not just in one area, he's leaving it as in many areas. And your podcast, because you're nominated in 2 areas. And I'm like, talk about leaving a legacy.
That was surprising to me. And I know it sounds sort of old hat to say, oh, it's an honor just to be nominated, but it's true. It is, because it's a People's Choice Award. That means people are listening.
Sponsorship and listener support of the Lost Traveler podcast benefits the Lost Travelers Club, a volunteer-operated charitable foundation under United Charitable, a 501c3 public charity. Peregrine is the proper noun we now use to describe a parent who endures the loss of their beloved child, forever carrying their memory and embarking on a lifelong journey of grief, resilience, and hope. The Lost Travelers Club provides programs, resources, and empowerment opportunities for peregrines globally who are navigating their grief journey. Parents of child loss, getting there together. You can support this important work by becoming a sponsor of this podcast or visiting www.losttravelers.club for more information or to make a donation. Thanks for listening and for your continued support.
And, you know, I love the fact that you're talking about the whole victim versus victor thing. I carry that a lot in my counseling work as well, which I call guy wire. You know what a guy wire is in construction? It's those cables, those strong cables that lend support to a freestanding structure until it is solid on its own. And so that's what I do. That's really what I feel is my overarching work. In 2014, I got a call from the UN asking me, they were familiar with the work I was doing in theater and life skills education and mentoring. And they said that they wanted to send me to Fiji for 2 weeks to develop a workshop in creative activism using folkloric theater as a tool for positive change, working with youth in their country, because especially the indigenous youth, because they were very, very much I don't know, at a loss. They were lost travelers. They were moving from a series of military dictatorships into the first democratic elections in over a generation, and they were skillless. They did not know how to move forward, and so they sent me there to help. And I didn't want to be the big white American dude, you know, come on, little brown people, here's how you do it the American way. But which a lot of people do, you know, and I had to lead it out of them. That's really what education means, is to lead out of, as if drawing water from a well. All the information's already in there, but sometimes it takes an educator to help lead that information and that awareness out. And I had 30 young people ages 18 to 30 in this group. I split them into 2 groups, and one of them had formed a band, and they wanted to create a new song for a new day for their youth to inspire. And they said, can we play you the song? I said, yeah, please, because I'm a musician as well. And I appreciated that gesture of music and wanting to use it as a tool. So he pulled out his phone and started playing the track of the song. And it was very slow and plodding, and the lyrics were, you know, we are the victims of an oppressive government, and and please won't someone come and help us because we are, you know, failed, and accidentally his finger pressed the button. Accidentally, I say in quotes, and it jumped to the next track, which was this upbeat kind of reggae vibe. And for the first part of it, everybody was hunched over and just sort of like, you know, curled inward and just sort of nodding, yeah, we are victims. And then when the music changed, when the rhythm changed, they all sat up straight. They started moving their bodies with the rhythm, and they smiled. And I said, stop the music. Did you see what just happened there? Yeah, it was on accident. I didn't mean to push the button. I said, no. I said, go back and think about the shift that happened in you with this frequency change, right? And I asked them, I said, I listened very carefully to the lyrics of your song, and I understand, I hear you, I see you. And, not but and.
Yes, very good.
Tell me, what is the opposite of victim? And not one of them could. We
Oh.
sat there for minutes of silence while they were all, I could hear the wheels turning. And this one gentleman sitting next to me, he was about 23, like 6'8" and big as a mountain, and had this rumbling voice. And he said something under his breath. And I said, Wate, would you say that loudly so everyone can hear? He said, Victor? I said, that's right. You are already victorious because we are sitting here having this conversation. Do you know how many millions of people in the world did not wake up today? But you did. And that means something. So let's do something with that. Let's start with the gratitude of that and recognizing that you are already 100% victorious, that you have survived not only what you've experienced in your short lifetimes, but you've survived what your parents experienced, their parents, their all the way back to our common ancestor in East Africa, right? The mitochondrial Eve. All that suffering, all that joy, all that love, all that hate, all that war has led to this moment. And that matters. Let's notice that. And that was the foundation that we built this wonderful program called Stories to Tell, Talanoa Manda, in their Bao dialect, which means stories to tell, because everything else had been through dance and music. It was very taboo to speak your history.
How many languages do you speak?
I am fluent in Portuguese, Spanish, and English, but I have little bits and bobs. See, I grew up in the world that you went into as a profession. My dad was Foreign Service, U.S. government. My stepmother was CIA. I mean, I grew up in that whole world that you described. That was my foundation.
Do you find it difficult when you're visiting a country not to pick their accent? I always having flashback when you're talking like with the German accent.
Yeah. Sometimes
if I go to the UK, the Brit accent, and then it's like
it's a rhythm.
East Indian will turn to an East Indian accent. When you were talking, making reference to the German, I remember the German Coast Guard story. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because sometimes I can get into trouble. I just pick the dialect and I just go with it. And some will receive that, some will, oh, you're making fun of.
It's a rhythm. Listen, it's a rhythm. Human beings, before we ever developed speech, we sang to one another. It's all about tones and pitches and projecting your voice and projecting your intention through your voice. This mechanism in our throat, this little voice box, is not designed for speech. Speech is actually very hard. That's why at the end of a day, your voice is fried, right? But if you sang all day long, you would be totally fine, right? You think of the cultures that exist around the equator, right? Even around, like, as far as the Mediterranean. And you hear the high pitch and the low and all of that. It's all music, right? But then the farther away from the equator you get, the jaw gets tighter and everything gets like this, and you barely move your mouth, right? But that's because the weather was colder. I mean, and all they had were animal skins, right? So of course, living in North America,
my last partner in Bosnia was German.
Yeah.
And I still remember his name, Reinhold Spohr. And when you're in the safe house, you get branded, you get a nickname, right? You're accepted. We had a guy from Madrid, and we couldn't pronounce his name, but he became Taco.
Yeah.
And then hey, Taco, run from the border. And he would always want to look at the news in Madrid, the weather, not the news, the weather in Madrid. And it was like, Taco, it's like it's the same thing. Scorchio, scorchio, scorchio. It's like every time it was like scorchio. It's like it's the same. But he needed to hear, right? I'm like, oh, scorchio. And my partner, Reinhold Spohr, it's like, hey, well, Reinhold, reindeer? No, Sproul, sprocket. But he was the slowest, like he was very reserved and very, very task oriented. Everything had to be logical. And then he would say, "Vi." Well, Reinhold, everybody has a nickname here. And how about, because he was slow, how about Sparky? That's just the opposite. It's like, we'll call you Sparky. Vi, my name is Reinhold Spro. And it's like, Sprocket? Reindeer? And he goes, Vi. He was always Vi. And then at the end, every time we'd go someplace, hey, Reinhold Spro, like first name, last name. That was his nickname, Reinhold Spro. So, and it was funny. And it's like he had a calendar because we were in the same room, because they make sure that that the whole team doesn't disappear at the same time. So there's a rotation every 3 months. So you lose your partner after 3 months, and then a new partner comes in, so that you rotate and you keep the movement or the contacts that you're running. And Reinhold brings a calendar with all of the religious days on the calendar. And he's making a big point that because of all these, this is all these, not holidays, but are we supposed to work on those days?
Feasts,
and I'm looking
saints.
at he has all of them. And I'm like, are there any days open?
Nope.
It's like, we're not here as a tourist. We're on a tour. And the first 3 months was underneath the British I4 implementation force. So we were working 7 days a week. It's like, no, there's no, it's like, and I was not the best because I was new at this. Some were at some very good field time and experience. I just outworked them. We were the first team out at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we were the last team in at 7 o'clock at night. Then you would write all night. You reread your reports, and then you go on the next day, and then you just go and you meet people on a regular basis, and you just keep on getting a sense of what's happening. At the end, we had 100 eyeballs working. Well, at least for our team, we had 100 eyeballs working for us, or at least telling us what's happening in their part of the Obstina that we're in. And Reinhold had a hard time of Vi. And then we were hitting the month of December, and so we were changing now. Now it was an American-led mission, so it became S4. That means that we have to change the vehicles. We're now using North American vehicles versus European vehicles, from Land Rovers to GM products. And there's a lot of European that would roll the vehicles because the American vehicles are power steering, and they're very bouncy, big tires, they're like the Tahoe, but the smaller version anyway. So a lot of Europeans would roll them because kind of overcompensate. But we went from an I4 to an S4, stabilizing force. And when we were hitting the month of December, Reinhold was like, we're still working. Yeah, it's not a vacation. But now the Americans imposed a light day on Sunday. All my guys were doing things on Sundays. Like on Sundays, all of my guys were blowing things up on Sundays. And then because we were in Medjugorje, it's up high in the mountain areas, you would hear the explosion. Ethnic cleansing. So because they had rebuilt a new village, and then my guys would take mines, and then they wouldn't use 4 of them. They were very strategic. They would only use 1 or 2, so that whatever the pillar of the house was, they would blow 1 or 2 so that it would pivot, and now nobody could live in it. So they were like, very very wise in their usage of explosives. And then you would just see a pattern, as in big explosion. Okay, that was more, they don't want a certain culture to live there. If you didn't pay your taxes in downtown Mostar, because they have a lot of coffee shops, if you didn't pay your taxes, they would throw a grenade because you didn't have a sticker. right? You didn't have a sticker that protects you. So they would then make sure that you were out of business because you have to pay your taxes. So there was a lot of entrepreneurial uh, initiatives. Everybody opens a coffee shop, and then you have to pay your taxes. So law enforcement version of them, and then you start seeing a pattern that if the restaurant started with the letter A, it belonged to a certain group.
Interesting.
If there was all marble floors, it belonged to another group.
Oh.
So was it safe to go in, safe to not eat there? So it became very, very interesting. But everybody wants to talk. Everybody has a story. If you can find that hot button and click on it, and they will share their experiences. And I became really good at asking questions.
A guy wire is a tensioned cable that is designed to enhance the stability of a freestanding structure. Think of me as your guy wire. In terms of life skills mentoring, you're perfectly capable of standing stably on your own 2 feet. But I'm a cable that can enhance your stability. I'm available for individual or couples counseling, life skills mentorship, child loss grief support, LGBTQ plus support. I can also officiate weddings, end-of-life ceremonies, baby namings, invocations, or whatever guidance you may need. I serve all genders, all ages. Sessions are affordable, discreet, private, and conducted online. Find me at guy-wire.org. Book your appointment today.
Maybe we can provide that to them. I have the 10 most effective feel-good ice-breaking questions. Because if I can ask the questions and they're thought-provoking and they're open-ended, icebreakers, we'll have a conversation. And from that conversation, it will lead to either a relationship or a partnership. Like I'm having a conversation with you, and I'm like, my God, she's good. I need to go and like, oh, he's always you're living this. You're living the parable of the pencil, and I'm like, my gosh, he's doing the 4 levels of awareness. When I was over there, I believe that there's 4 levels of awareness. There's environmental awareness,
Yep.
situational awareness, self-awareness to the top, which is legacy awareness.
Yep.
So for me, environmental awareness is a moment in time where you and I discover or experience something new. Well, when I was on my interrogator course, Henry, that was something new that I did not know of, right? Right. Now, when I went as a contact handler, when I went back to spy school in the UK, I learned about something I discovered, experienced something new. I did not know about the world of a contact handler. Situational awareness is a moment in time where you get to apply what you've discovered and experienced in environmental awareness. So quite often we go to school for environment, and then we go to our job and situation. We need more training. Go back to environment, back to situation. More, and you just keep on going through environment and situation because you lack self-awareness. Self-awareness is the moment in time where you discover your vision, if you wish, your passion, your pourquoi. It's where you find your strength, and it's where you can protect yourself from yourself.
That's right.
And then self-awareness is key, because at the end, how do you leave a legacy? When you have a strong sense of self, you can go to environmental awareness situation, but if you keep on going through these two, you have what I call a TED moment, and temporary enthusiasm disorder, and you go back to environment, situation, environment, because you don't have that self-awareness. And once you have that self-awareness, your strengths will carry you, your lowest traits should concern you. Okay, cool. Key to success is found in your lowest trait. Not to become that, but at least to have life balance. But once you have that self-awareness, you can really look at legacy. And what is legacy? Well, I define it as a moment in time where everything that you've invested in your life outlives your life. You're leaving a legacy in those 3 areas, those 3 associations, right? And I'm like, I want to spend a little bit more time with Henry. Spain, I'm like, I've never been to Spain.
Come on out, brother. Come on out. I mean, it's a very special and magical place. You know, you were talking about the Reinhold's list on his calendar of all the festivals, all the feasts of the saints and everything else. I have those tagged in my Google Calendar, not because I'm a religious person. I'm not, but I live in a culture that is. And for me to understand my neighbors, the colleagues and friends that I'm meeting here, I need to understand the rhythms that are there. My tiny little village has a festival almost every week. You know, they're parading the saints through the street. I mean, they're even parading the saints to pray for rain in the most ancient, primordial human gesture of you know, asking for what you want. You have to ask for. Cameron used to say, Papa, if you ask for what you want, there's a 50% chance that you'll get it. But if you don't ask for what you want, there's a 100% chance that you won't get it. And aren't 50% odds much better? He was 12, 11, 12 years old when he said that.
Figure that out. Oh my gosh.
So everything that you mentioned, every single thing on that list is an essential human life skill. Everything. And we are not taught at home. We're not taught at school. We're not taught in our work. And it's left to us, lost travelers, to find those crossroads, to find those markers throughout our lives. And those, to me, when you find them, you're the only one who can recognize that you need to elevate those skill levels, that you are deficient. That's the self-awareness part. You're the only one who can recognize that you're deficient. No one on the earth can point a finger at you and say, you're deficient in this. No, you have to recognize it yourself. And when you do, that automatically, effortlessly raises the skill set in every life skill. And when I say life skill, like we said, communication, I'm also talking about financial literacy. I'm talking about emotional literacy. I'm talking about grief. I'm talking about hygiene and nutrition, self-care, right? I'm talking about sexual literacy. I'm talking about every aspect in the human experience that all 8 billion on the planet experience today. We're deficient in some, I would venture to say many, and we're proficient in the ones that we have invested in. And so that's what we do by finding people like yourself, like me, like others in the world who have some of these tools, have mastered some of these tools.
Yeah,
right?
you just I'm laughing because I'm like, my gosh, we got so much we can cover.
I know. We're gonna have to do a part 2 because it's already been an hour and a half, and I can't even.
Oh my God! Because as you were talking, I'm like, during COVID, you know what I like? I like creating new things, new products, and I was asking myself, I was working with a client, and he wasn't doing his homework. You know, it's like, okay, you want me to be a coach? You want to go into the speaking lane? So, okay, not a problem. Like there's 7 different form of revenues. But there's a homework assignment that you have to do. But then he would not do the homework assignment, and then he would say, you know what's missing at company so and so? They don't have anything on this. They don't have anything on that, and he kept on repeating himself over and over and over. And he was referring to that. They don't have anything on goal setting, based on the model, based on personalities.
Right.
And then I got him like, well, do you want to keep on talking about this, or do you want to do something about this?
Thank you.
Like I just went firm, and he goes, I want to do something about this. So now he is a co-author of the goal setting by personality styles. So when you were talking, there's a wheel, there's a back wheel, and there's a front wheel. And the front wheel deals more with your personal goals in life. The back wheel, that's more of the business side of things. It's more of like how do you make a living? And when you're doing the assessment, I know I'm just showing it you on the screen, you'll see that the front wheel's not so bad, but I got a little bit of flat tire here and a flat tire there. But the back wheel, oh my gosh, I'm like this, it's not running smoothly because of how this is done. Right. And now I can actually go back and redo the questionnaire. And what I found fascinating is that based on your persona, goal setting is either positive or negative.
Mm-hmm.
Some like it, some hate it. And I thought, well, maybe there's something in there in regards to if you had an idea of your preferred communication style, your persona, we could learn how to protect yourself from yourself. Some can do it alone. Others have to be in a group. Some need to talk it out. Some need to think things through. And it's like, isn't that interesting? So not to have a retreat, the ultimate goal setting retreat where you can go and just start dreaming again of what
Right.
life could be, of finding that want, that vision, and then protecting yourself from yourself in regards to this. So that's happened in COVID. Something positive came out. I started teaching at the Ottawa University. Something positive came out.
Right. So
And
many
the
things.
reach became a little bit more global. I found a team to assist me in regards to for the message, and because there's social media, I don't want to do that. I want to have somebody else do that. And I have somebody, so we build what you haven't, well, maybe you've seen, but the website of the Retired Spy, that's the fifth one.
Wow. Yeah,
It's the
they're always
first,
evolving. Yeah.
it's evolving. It's the first one that's really branded as the Retired Spy. I always envisioned it black and white, something
Yeah.
like that, a little
My
bit of red.
website's all in black and white. I love it.
And then it's like, oh, and then this one got it. Like she went through and she got it. And it was fun. And now I have to have it bilingual because it's well, okay, that's a different event, but I don't want to do a lot of this. But she has those skill sets, and it's finding people that can take care of your blind spots and can get the message across. The point here is that there's a part in there that how you got you're being you're nominated in two areas. I was informed that I'm a recognized global authority, and I'm like, I don't see myself because I'm still on that journey.
Right. Toward your
But no,
legacy. Yeah.
but you're a three-time award-winning speaker. I compete in those to force me to do the homework and this because I don't want to look bad and I want to have a message and I want to make a difference. So I go and I do this. And the last one I just did in May, as let's get back into this because now we're doing back live events. And I titled it How to Successfully Navigate Hostile Environments Using the F Word.
Mm.
And it's like, what? So, and I make fun of myself in there. Oh my gosh. And it's like, there's a great story of, that's for another time, but I don't feel obligated. I actually said that to my wife. I don't feel obligated answering all your questions. And I was like, well, that didn't go well. I engineered my own hostile environments with the words that I chose to use. So,
Right. Well, words have power and words are frequency. And this is the thing, every word we speak, every thought we think is a frequency that other people will pick up on. And sometimes it's unspoken. Sometimes you can only see it in the eyes or in the body language, as you know, right? These are all tools that we can use.
Hey, are you like me, always looking for ways to make a positive impact in the world? Well, then join me in sponsoring Desire Childcare Organization. We are a legally incorporated, fully volunteer-based organization in Uganda, committed to providing essential needs, holistic arts-based education, and a safe family environment to 33 vulnerable children, ages 2 to 14. Your monthly sponsorship can help improve the lives of these kids toward a better future. Desire Childcare is different from any other charity I know because, well, we have zero administrative overhead. Every penny goes to the kids. And we have a plan toward self-sufficiency through agriculture, so support is temporary. It's kind of like a leg up. Visit desirechildcare.org to learn more and get involved. Let's empower and inspire the Desire kids together. Thanks.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
oh, yes, you can ask a question.
I'm going to ask you a question. See, you're a good listener. Look at that. He listened to previous episodes, and he
That scared me. It scared me
in this season,
because they're thought-provoking questions. Yeah.
and they're always left by the previous co-host. without knowing who the next co-host is going to be. But somehow, 100% of the time, they turn out to be just the right question for this particular host. So here's your question, and then I want you to think of a question for the next one, just intuitively. Your question is, when was the last time you went out of your comfort zone? Did it feel good or bad? Did it give you any insight into yourself? It's actually 3 questions, but
Yeah. When was the last time?
you went out of your comfort zone.
Well, it was the May event. I lived all my life in the shadows. When I was in high school, I played sports. It was legal in football to hit people. And it was, so in practice, I hit a lot of people. You hit more people in practice than you do in a game. In my last year, I won Defensive Lineman of the Year. And I also won the Athlete in the Shade. You had the Athlete of the Year, but you have Athlete in the Shade, and then they explained what the Athlete in the Shade represent. That you're always there, like you're the first one there, you're the last one to leave. Every practice, I have to hitchhike back home, so that was 22 kilometers every night. So in the morning you were there, but then rain or shine, and they rewarded me for being in the shadows, being in the not looking at the limelight, but always being in the shadows. And maybe they programmed me at a very young age that it's safe to be in the shadows. Maybe that brought me interest into the whole intelligence, shadows of the world. But I spent most of my time there. When I transited out of the military, I got into the speaking lane. So as a trainer, as a coach, and then I was asked to keynote to open a conference, and that's being on the stage, on the spotlight. And that was scary. And it's still like it doesn't jazz me. I don't look for the stage. I understand it's part of, I have to step into the spotlight, from the shadow. We all at one point, we live in the shadow. By one point in life, you're going to have to step out of the shadow. Oh my gosh, I wrote a book on that, From the Shadows to the Spotlight. Wow. Talk about the question being right.
Yeah, we'll put a link to your book in the description as well.
Well, no,
no, we will. But that's interesting. It's really interesting.
It became an international bestseller, but not because of me. I just wrote a chapter. I wrote my story in there, and I have the parable of the pencil in there. But anyways, I can send the chapter to anybody that wants to have a copy of it. But that whole thing of putting myself in that spotlight. So in the last time was May, the first week of May, when I decided to go back and to do a brand new 20-minute, almost like a TEDx or a TED Talk. The shorter it is, the harder it is. Now there's 100 people. And then the day before, they say, you're going to be the first speaker. So, yeah, and it's still hard for me. But it's good for me because it sharpens, your, and when I was on that stage, I was prepared to do, and I did something different. I sat on the stool to start calmly, and then I did the presentation. And what became very scary is that I was coming up with new content as I was speaking. And don't do it. Don't start sharing it because they give you they want that 20 minutes. Right. So that was, as much as I need to get out of the shadows and to do those, it's still very hard for me. But it has to be about them. Yeah. Right? When you're on the stage, you have to look bad. They have to look good. Now, here's what not to say. So you humble yourself. and I'm better for it. I'm better for the stretch, for the sharpening, if you wish, and I can make a difference. I can leave a mark in those areas. So, yeah, it would be the May of 2023, the first week of May 2023, when I went back on the stage for the first time since COVID, 4 years.
And after it was over, how did you feel? Did it feel
I
good? Did
felt,
it feel
I
weird?
felt, I felt relief.
Yeah. Done.
Check mark, done. And then at the end, the audience voted me as the top presenter. So I got recognized for all the work and all the effort, and that was very humbling, because I also liked a lot of the other talk in there, and I became a 3-time award-winning speaker at that point. And then the web developer, your whole team. Oh, you're a recognized global authority now.
Okay.
So
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That stuff doesn't matter to me. All the laud, the applause and the awards and all that stuff. I appreciate it. It's nice to know, to get that reflection back, that what you're putting out there has worth, and that people find it valuable and people are listening and they appreciate. But I'm with you with, it's not about what I get from it. It's not about my legacy. It's about
the fun part comes after, when they come to you. You really touch a core. Oh my gosh, that's so me when you're talking about this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so her when she. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. That's fun to hear,
Yeah.
right? And then it's like, well, here's a gift. Here's a. Um, I have what I call a spy coin, right? A decoder coin.
Mhm.
So and then I gave that to them, and they go, and it's very heavy, and it has a link to the website. It's like I call it a decoded coin, and if you use this and if you train in the model, you can decode one's preferred communication style. So it's a useful. We have decoder rings, so this is a little spy stuff at decoder coin. So I came up with that,
Oh, very
and then she goes, "My gosh, how much money do you make to give these to people? Because it's very heavy."
yeah.
Like and it's like, well, a business card, you'll just throw it away.
That's
But
right.
this one, I use it to mark my ball when I play golf, and it becomes a very good conversational piece.
That's
And,
great.
and then she go, "Oh my gosh, can I get another one?" Because she has a friend. Sure. And it just becomes a touch point. But I think it's the after of, see, I don't care what you do as long as you do something with it afterwards.
That's right.
I really, I have this saying, the word care.
Yeah.
Word care. Now, when somebody asks you, JJ, do you care about people? I know, Henry, I know the politically correct answer. I know what I'm supposed to say. I'm supposed to say yes.
Yes.
But can I be truthful? If I could just be me, not be judged. The word care doesn't resonate with me. So quite often, early on, because I've learned not to say it, early on, I don't care. I don't give a rip. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. And people take offense.
Mm.
Then one day, somebody asked me, I was on my NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming Practitioner course,
Mhm.
and they put me in front of the stage, and we were together. And they said, JJ, do you care about people? I know what I'm supposed to say, but I thought it was a safe environment because it's
Right.
125 hours to be on this course. We got 100 hours in. We know each other now. So, well, I don't give a rip. And the audience turned like that. They went, "Can he say it? He said the people best. Can he say that?" And I'm like, I knew it. I knew it. Just run me over, back up the truck, run me over. Then he goes, JJ, can I ask you another question? Okay, yeah. What? Do you value people? And without even a nanu of a second, right? That was like, of course I value people. I wouldn't be in this business if I didn't value people. I don't know if they got it, but I got that the word care is more on the people side,
Yeah.
but the word value is more on the task side of life.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
it has the same intent. It's just different. And that's where most people get a lot of these character building moments. They're not talking the same language because it's a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere type
I'm
of language.
so glad you're talking about this, because I have experienced this in my circles around the words loss, death, bereavement, right? July is Bereaved Parents Awareness Month. And there are whole communities of people, of bereaved parents, networks, and things like that. I'm not bereft. I'm sorry. I don't feel like, I feel like I've moved through that. I don't resonate with that. Bless the people who do. Bless the people who find the only solace in calling their experience loss and death. To me, they're very heavy. They sound final. But what I know to be true, and this isn't an opinion, this is fact, that everything is energy and frequency. Everything from my coffee cup to your decoder ring, you know, to you and me and my beautiful house and all of it. It's just energy. It's just frequency. Those things cannot be created or destroyed. They just change their form, right? They just change their form, change their intention, if you will. So what does that mean for death? Well, death isn't a thing. Death is illusion. It's a lie. When somebody their physical body stops working, what happens then? They just transform into a different mode of being. And it's up to us who are left here in the physical to figure out that frequency, like tuning a radio. Sometimes it's a very small gesture to find it, right? Nothing dies if it's alive in your heart and in your memory. When you're thinking about it, it's very much alive. When you're living in your memory, in fact, everything past only lives in your memory, in your imagination. And that imagination may be different for somebody else who was there and experiencing the same moment with you. They may have experienced it in a very different way. Just like the future, even 10 minutes from now, only lives in our imagination. This is it, kid, this moment. It all hinges on this moment and the infinite peacock tail of possibilities surrounding this moment. All you've got to do, your only responsibility, is to choose one and head toward that point B. Yeah. When you arrive at that point B and it doesn't feel safe and you don't feel happy and it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel right, then you're probably right. And it magically transforms into a new point A surrounded by an infinite possibilities. All you have to do
the
is
next right thing.
Right. So that's where I boiled it down to the essential. And I'm actually working on a new lexicon of grief so that we could start talking about these things in a more hopeful and positive light. Not that the loss of our kids or the demise of our children is a light, positive thing. It's not. It sucks, I'll tell you. It's not an easy thing. You have to recommit every day to be here. But, and it's a big but, this is not an and, it's a but. It really it's proven to be over and over and over and over again that once you recognize the power that you have to make positive change, you can't affect everything else around you other than affecting yourself. It's like the pencil, right? It's that inner part of yourself that is everything. So you don't have to care about everything else. You have to care about the health of what's inside of you. It's like a tree builds up bark around itself to protect its vital core. And so we need to build up our bark to protect ourselves from the elements. Sometimes it's protecting ourselves from ourselves, as you say.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So listen, I want you to leave a question for the next co-host. That's the flip side of our coin.
Describe a defining moment that has characterized your life.
Beautiful.
Defining, yeah. What is your defining moment that characterized your life? Yeah.
Great. Great. JJ, Jean-Jacques, so great. So great. We will do this again. I'm going to call this a special because it was very special. And I can't believe it's already been almost 2 hours of spending time with you. So it's wonderful to connect, and we will stay connected, I'm sure. I'll put all the good links in the description for our listeners. And I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your darkness into light journey. And it's been a real privilege to sit with you.
My pleasure, Henry. I've learned a lot, and you're fascinating. And for me, yeah, your journey also, and the positive impact that you choose to make. I want to surround myself more with that type of influencers out there. So thank you for the opportunity to be a guest on your podcast. Congratulations again on the nomination, and I wish you nothing but the best. It's humbling to be nominated. It's an honor. We're recognized for our craft. It's an indicator. It's a full sign, right? That we're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. Stay the course. Just stay the course.
Validation.
You're doing great work. Stay the course. So with that, thank you very much, sir. And I'll follow up with you and send you a few documents that maybe could add value versus sending them to a bookstore.
Okay, great. Would love that. Would love that. Thank you for that. And it's very exciting. We'll keep this conversation going for sure.
Excellent. All right, perfect. Thank you, Henry.
You've been listening to Season 4 of the Lost Traveler podcast with Henry Cameron Allen. Visit me online at henryallen.org. Thank you to my guests, and thank you for tuning in. Let's keep striving for a better world together.